Dollar looking very, very bullish. Really strong kind of close yesterday. And overall, it's going to be a pretty strong close on the weekly chart. And it does look like we are clearing out of this range, which tells me that we could be experiencing a lot more upside for USD over the next coming weeks, coming days, potentially months as well. The next big level I have for the dollar is this level up here at 113.379. So now that if we stay above 106, 107, which is this area here, I would expect that target up there to be our next big level that price does reach. So I'm expecting a lot more upside and could be seeing a really healthy trend throughout USD. Of course, fundamentals will have to play into it, but in terms of a technical analysis, it looks to me that we've had a really strong breakout. So I'm expecting this to continue back to the next key level, which is all up here at 113. So my bias for USD for the foreseeable future is definitely bullish, unless, of course, we were to bleed and come straight back inside the range. That will then completely invalidate that breakout bias. And at that point, we've got a really big fake out on our hands, and we're probably going to be speaking about some shorts. So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, if we get to it. But for now, this is a confident break. It looks like we're going to get a nice close on the weekly chart. Of course, we still got 13 hours before this candle does close, but to me, it's looking pretty confident. So taking that information to the lower charts, what I'm looking at is now a break and retest of this consolidation. Nice consolidation the past few days. Of course, over Christmas, New Year's, the market wasn't moving much. Now we've kind of seen a bit of volume come back into the market, really nice breakout. And it has left behind a really healthy area for some buys. So I'm looking for this to happen over the next few days, a pullback for USD, retest of this area, and continuation. Now I'm just expecting higher highs and higher lows. I was looking for the bigger pullback to test. Let me just clear this out of the way. I was looking for the bigger pullback to test this area. It doesn't look likely anymore. The fact that the market's made some more new highs. I mean, we still could see a bigger pullback there, so I'll still keep an eye out for it. But judging momentum, we're seeing some really healthy breakouts now. That was the interest rate earlier in December. Now we're seeing another big move as well. So it doesn't look like we're going to get that bigger pullback at this rate. So pullbacks to this area look good, and then I'll be expecting more upside and higher lows to form. So taking then to Euro, excuse me, which I'm looking for pretty much the exact opposite. Again, you got a lovely consolidation here. Price stalled there for a few days. Lovely break to the downside. Again, it's literally the mirror image or opposite mirror image, if that makes sense, of the DXY. Really strong move down. Of course, that was when the interest rates came out. Consolidation over Christmas, New Year's. Then again, momentum's back into the market. Lovely follow through to the downside. So I'm expecting more of the same, correction, more continuation. It looks to me that if I expand to the weekly chart, that again, similar to the DXY, we're getting a really strong breakout of this support level. Again, strong close on the weekly chart. That's what I've been looking for. And now that with this momentum, it does look like EURUSD is probably going to keep falling. Next big level is down here at 0.9796. So euro and dollar pretty much doing the inverse of each other, which is always good to see that they're in sync. And yeah, I'll be looking to short euro, buy USD, and take advantage of opportunities in that direction. The only way I would change my bias longer term is if we were to break back inside their range, which again will give us a big fake out, and then we can speak about some longs afterwards. So either which way, there's opportunities, but at the moment, it's looking like a really big breakout. So in terms of opportunities, I would be looking at some pullbacks to retest that same range, and hopefully some shorts maybe early next week or sometime next week, and looking for entries in this area here for your next leg to the downside, at least back to the low. Again, difficult to try and look for the big swing in one go, because we're going to have pullbacks, maybe consolidation, maybe some counter trend moves. So a lot can happen in that time. But I would say at least the push back to the price swing low makes a load of sense, and you can always leave some positions to run. But that's really what I'm looking at for EURUSD. Very consistent with the lower highs. I do expect us to keep falling. Heading over to pound USD, which looks like it's done the exact same thing as well. Really strong breakout yesterday. A lot of bearish momentum in the markets, left behind some really key support, which of course is now flipped as resistance. So just like euro, just like USD, healthy breakouts, would be looking at a pullback and a retest of those prior levels for some more downside. We're speaking a lot about this pattern here and the lovely high over there. Price broke structure, another lower high, another lower high. Again, yesterday, or no, that was a Monday, another low high Monday. Really strong drop to the downside. So looking for that continuation and the next lower high in this bearish sequence. And again, another drop. I have pointed out some daily levels down here, which looks like price is working its way towards more or less around 1.23 or just above it. That is where I do see the market falling. Now, the market is still pretty bearish. We could just keep falling to the downside, but in terms of a nice swing opportunity, this is kind of where you're looking for your pullbacks. At the moment, kind of middle nowhere really, so I wouldn't look to touch pound buys or sells, but I would be pretty bearish bias. I'm very bullish on USD, so against the USD majors, I'm always going to be favoring USD upside with that bias. And for a pair like pound USD, I'm expecting this to keep falling, so keep an eye on some pullbacks. Again, next week sometime could occur. Same with euro. Dollar CAD, same as always, really, with this one. Very, very bullish. At the moment, still kind of consolidating, which might be a good sign because price is struggling to continue this bullish trend. Maybe we do have a bit of a sell-off, which is kind of what I'm looking for, because I want to look for that bigger pullback to take this one back to the upside. Again, if I expand to the higher time frames, very bullish stuff on the weekly chart. We broke through some really colossal resistance not long ago. As you can see, such a big breakout. Next big level for dollar CAD is up at these prices, 1.46. So I do still see a lot more upside for this one back to that area of resistance. So my plan is kind of find a decent pullback where I can place a long and just hold that trade for the remainder of that journey back to that next level, or at least to a point where I can trail stops. Maybe I don't take advantage of the full move, but still catch a decent chunk, and that would be back down in this area. Healthy pullback back into the 0.618. Of course, retesting the prior high and a level which we haven't come back to retest yet, so it's still relatively fresh. So if I can see a bigger pullback there for dollar CAD, that'll be fantastic. See a higher low in that 1.415 area. I'll be more than happy to find some longs and at least take it back to the same range. And then if all goes well, maybe I'm lucky and I do hold into a bigger move. But first things first, we need that bigger pullback anyway. At the moment, the market's just moving sideways. So I'm staying patient. As I have talked about in the lower time frames, some intraday setups. We could look to kind of play the range. We did call this bounce here last week. The price came into that area, nice bounce, nice push to the upside. If we were to get back there again, could see a repeat of that and some more upside. Again, it's just general range play, really. But it's with the understanding that, okay, the bigger move is still most likely to the upside. If I do catch it right, maybe I do catch the breakout as well, and I can leave some positions to run for that. But in terms of what I'm interested, it is solely a bigger pullback to that 1.415 region. Hopefully we can find some longs and get involved with some entries in that area. In terms of Aussie dollar, pretty bearish with this one as well. It's looking pretty corrective. It hasn't had the drop like pound or euro did yesterday. Euro and pound were pretty weak. Aussie was a little bit strong. I feel like Aussie and New Zealand dollar, they're kind of having a bit of a breather because these guys have been bearish for quite a while. All you need to do is look at pound Aussie and pound NZD, and those markets have been flying. So Aussie and New Zealand dollar have been both pretty weak. So maybe these guys are slowing down, finding a bit of strength before continuing. Now, I'm still very bearish with these guys as well. We've broken through some major structure, and I expect more lows to be taken out. We're very, very close to taking out this wick low here. I do think price is going to do that pretty soon. What would be nice, though, instead of kind of just solely corrective kind of break of structure like that, it would be nice if price was to suddenly push to the upside, give us another lower high, and then we can short it back down. That's kind of what I'll be looking there for Aussie dollar. And as I've spoken about, I do really like this swing low here. We broke through, no prior retest. There's also a brief consolidation here on the 4-hour chart as well. So around the 0.632, 634 region, I think looks really good for some pullbacks, retests, and then a lot more downside. But of course, with that bullish bias I have in USD, even though Aussie dollar is coming to some nice areas of support, I don't expect to see a massive bounce. Maybe we have a bigger pullback, but I do expect more follow through to the downside. So yeah, hopefully we do see some pullback at some point there with Aussie dollar. And of course, same thing with New Zealand dollar. Expand to the daily chart, still expect more downside. I'm looking at this wick here being taken out by New Zealand dollar, more or less around 0.551, so still a bit of a way to go. So what would be nice is if price can have a bit of a pullback, find a lower high somewhere, and of course get the continuation. And the areas where I would be looking for that lower high is at this area. Well, kind of got three areas I'm looking at. This is definitely my more preferred area, coming back to test a nice 4-hour support, which of course will now be resistance, looking for the next lower high in this sequence here. So that would be my preferred area, but I might be asking a bit too much from the market for a pullback that big. So there are a couple of areas as well, this more minor level of support and this very brief pause in the market, which would be more like a consolidation, maybe like the 30 or 50-minute chart could be a nice area to look at. But first things first, we need a pullback anyway, because price at the moment is just slowly just rolling over, and it might just continue that. So yeah, that'll be a bit boring. But if you can have a bit move to the upside, that's great. So at least back to 0.572, preferably back to 0.58. But like I said, I might be asking a bit too much of a pullback there from New Zealand dollar. But we'll find out. Maybe we see it happen. But the plan is that if we do have a bit of a push, we're expecting low high to form and expecting more downside, because the goal is that we're expecting these lows to be taken out pretty soon, and probably the COVID lows as well to be taken out pretty soon too. In terms of gold, gold was pretty bullish yesterday. We had some upside, as you can see. That's the daily candle closure. Again, gold, I'm not really a fan of. I mean, I like the buys, but I spoke about this area here as a place where I would like to find some entries for some longs. Of course, we're not trading in that area, so there's not much for me to do. It looks like maybe price has had a bit of a fake of this low here. It's tried to break through a couple of times. It's failed. Now it's come back above. More or less got equal highs up there. So you can pretty much say that at the moment, this is a bit of a range right now for gold. Hence why I wanted to focus my entries down here, because that'll be away from the noise. I can get a solid stop loss in. Of course, I'm not saying I'm guaranteed to make a profit on that trade, but at least I know that I'm in an extreme and in an area where if we do react, it could be onto a really nice move. So that's really where I wanted to go long, but yeah, it doesn't look like we're probably going to see that. So at the moment, I don't really have a clear-cut setup for gold right now. If we were to come up back to the high, I think that's still a nice place for a short. I wouldn't necessarily hold for the full swing, because again, I'm still pretty bullish on gold, so I do expect us to eventually break that resistance and come back to the highs here. So although, yes, it's a nice area, we've reacted very well, I wouldn't look to try and swing trades and holding those trades for too long at those areas, because I do think the bigger move is likely going to be to the upside at some point. So yeah, gold looking very bullish. Don't really have a setup for this one. So I'm kind of just waiting for more information, more price action before I do find a setup. I know I'm looking for buys, just don't have one that fits my criteria yet, or where the price action is looking clear enough for me. Silver might be the one that got away. I was looking for the double bottom here at the start of this week anyway. Did miss the entry. It occurred during my sleeping hours, unfortunately, and has seen some nice momentum. So I'm kind of seeing if it does come back down, or if it does start to form some bullish structure, then I'll look to try and hop in somewhere. But again, if I expand to the higher time frames for gold, the plan is still very much push, looking at this as a larger pullback for a bigger push to the upside back to the highs, and so on and so forth. So very bullish on gold, very bullish on silver. Silver looks a lot clearer to me, so more focused on this one. But yeah, naturally expecting more upside with these markets here. So